Total Retail is excited to announce the release of its latest research report, How to Make Free Shipping Profitable: Tactics to Help Retailers Meet Growing Consumer Demand for Free Shipping Without Going Broke. Based on a 10-part article series that Total Retail published on this topic, the report intends to educate retailers on various ways they can offer free shipping without it becoming a money-losing proposition. You can download the complimentary report at mytotalretail.com/resources.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hi, and welcome to Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Editor-in-Chief of Total Retail. Joining me today is Pete Avery, Director of Retail Marketing at Callaway Golf, a leading seller of golf products, including clubs and equipment. We're going to be discussing how Callaway is using augmented reality technology to help improve the in-store shopping experience for its customers. Thanks for joining me, Pete.
Thank you for having me, Joe. Happy to be here.
So let's start by having you tell us why, as I mentioned, Callaway is invested in augmented reality and how you think that can improve the in-store experience for your shoppers. Why that was why that decision was made.
Yeah, certainly. Maverick is really the first family of Callaway products that's been designed using artificial intelligence, and we really felt like we wanted to create a unique way for the consumer to see the technology that goes into these products, whether it's woods or irons. And we didn't want to solely rely on just kind of the 2D printed materials that we would have out there traditionally. So we wanted to feature that tech from an inside perspective. So almost like a blown apart version of the iron and a blown apart version of the driver, so that we could show the consumer, the flash face cup technology that goes in there, the tungsten energy core in the irons and urethane microspheres. And then from a woods perspective, the jailbreak and composite crown and all the materials that go into creating the titanium face on the woods and all the things that the consumer would benefit from. So we felt like artificial intelligence needed a partner to kind of help tell that story, and we felt like augmented reality would give us that opportunity to really dive into the product itself and allow the consumer to see the clubs from the inside out. So we felt like it was a natural fit for us.
So these aren't inexpensive products, so I would imagine the customer, they really want to do their research. They really want to know about the product and the benefits and how it's made. Does that kind of lead into why this is such a critical feature, this augmented reality technology for the customer? Yeah,
absolutely. Like you said, they're not inexpensive from the consumer's perspective, and the thing that we all constantly hear is that from a consumer is that it would be hard to increase from a technological standpoint the product on a year-to-year basis, when in fact we've been partnering and doing a lot of work through our R&D department to make those jumps in technology and distance gains that the consumers are seeing. And artificial intelligence is a huge part of that story for us right now. And so we felt like that needed to be told, and we needed to be able to tell that consumer, why the products are priced the way that they are, but all the things that go into it as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the execution in store. So can you tell us how Callaway is using an example of how augmented reality technology is being used in store?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the most part, we wanted this experience for the consumer to be relatively seamless. So we didn't want the consumer to have to go download an app to participate. So we created and partnered with Groove Jones, our agency partner that developed this content for us. We partnered with them and created the experience that could be run just off of a standard browser on your phone. So what we've done is created QR codes in all of our point of sale materials. We've created vanity URLs where the consumer can just type those URLs into their browser on their phone, and then it would immediately take them to this experience where they would give the browser access to their camera, and then it would essentially project the driver or iron and the technology experience as I've described directly wherever they're pointing their phone. So it's not reliant on, finding the ground. It's not reliant on, basing the augmented reality off of an image or anything along those lines. So we wanted to make it as seamless as possible and to get that interaction from the consumer. So we've concluded the QR codes, we've added the vanity URLs, and again, just tried to make that process a little bit easier for the consumer to interact with the content.
So we mentioned that this is happening in store. Callaway, does company-owned stores or retail partners you're working with on this?
No, Callaway does not own any stores. So it's all through our retail partners. And so we've gone out and obviously talked with our retail partners and pitched this concept and idea. And everybody loved the premise of it, as well as the execution of it so far. So it's really in all of our retail partners' point of sale materials, whether it's Dick's Sporting Goods, PGA Tour Superstore, Golf Galaxy, Worldwide Golf. Those are some of our bigger partners, but also it would translate down to your local country club. So we've got QR codes and things along those lines that are out there as well for consumers to interact with it, wherever they're shopping for Callaway products. So
you mentioned you wanted to make the process as seamless and easy for the customer once they're in store and using this technology feature. Mm-hmm. Maybe you want to walk through an example of, or maybe one or two different ways that in-store users are able to interact with the technology. And then second part to that is kind of what's the feedback you've collected from the users? Yeah,
sure. So from our perspective and the elements that we created to put in our retail partner stores, one, we have what we call a launch fixture. So it's a piece that would sit front of store. It talks about the fact that Maverick lineup has been designed using artificial intelligence. And then we have the QR code right there on this launch fixture that sits directly as a consumer walks into the store. So that consumer can interact with it there. But we also have it at the product level. So when the consumer is shopping for, say, a driver, all the printed material that is supporting those products also has a QR code, and it prompts the consumer to scan or open their camera and point it at the QR code, which would immediately take them to the vanity URL that I described earlier. So the consumer could be standing there right in front of the woods. It would immediately take them to the woods page. Or if they're looking at the iron wall, for example, the artwork there would again support Maverick lineup, the artificial intelligence, and then prompt them to scan the QR code, and it would take them to the irons version of the experience. So wherever it's located, it would redirect them to the appropriate product so that it was very relevant to what the consumer has in front of them or what they're looking for in reality. So the consumer would then go in, they'd be able to do the exploded versions of the driver or the irons, learn about the product. They can also watch the product videos that we've created. And then there's also a tool on there which allows the consumer to answer about 5 or 6 questions about their game. What's the ball flight look like? What club or iron are they most comfortable hitting? Is it a 5-iron, a 4-iron, those types of things. And then we would make a product recommendation based off of their answers on which Maverick family of irons would be right for them or the right driver. And so there's a lot of different things that they can interact with. So the feedback that we have been getting has been extremely positive. And it's mostly anecdotal at this point because we launched it about 30 days ago. So we're going to be looking at obviously the data and the number of people that are interacting with it and the duration. But those are the types of things that the consumer would experience and things that we're hearing from the field.
So it sounds like this is really like a consultative tool in the purchase decision-making process for the consumer. And this is happening in your retail partner stores where you're getting the benefit of interacting with these customers and giving them the expertise that Callaway has to help them make the right decision for them when it's really not even your store. So that's is that kind of how you're looking at it? You're kind of almost inserting what would be a Callaway sales associate inside a retail partner store?
Yes, absolutely. Our sales associates, our partners and their sales associates, they do a very good job when they're interacting with the consumer, but obviously they're not always able to talk to that consumer. And so we wanted to act almost like a third party in that conversation, if necessary, to provide the details and the relevant information for the consumer to learn about the Maverick lineup and figure out which product might be right for them. But you alluded to, obviously, the sales associates as well. This tool also allows us to, train those sales associates and add some of the content and some of the story that they can then talk to consumers about as well. So it's not only a consumer-facing piece, but, training is a huge initiative of ours, and making sure that the sales associate at our partners understand our product, they understand the stories about our product. And so this tool has added that element as well. So, our training staff can't get out to every single door. So, the augmented reality experience is another tool in the training aspect as well.
You mentioned this is a rather new initiative. So we're looking at how Callaway is measuring the impact, and obviously this is probably still in the works, but talk about what you're kind of looking at to measure kind of the impact that this augmented reality tool is having on your consumers' purchase decisions.
Yeah, we're looking at and going to be looking at the data. Like I mentioned, it's launched about 30 days ago. It's obviously very early in the new year and in the new golf season. So a bulk of the sales will start picking up here over March, April, and May. And then obviously June is a big month with Father's Day, et cetera. So we're going to be constantly tracking that data, and it's going to be the number of people that are interacting with the experience, as well as the time that they spend on the site. So, the early results have been very positive. People are interacting with it, and they're learning, and they're going through the process. So we're excited about that. But, it's difficult for us to measure kind of direct sales or anything along those lines, because ultimately we do not have anything that links out to a buy now type of experience. And because we sell through our retail partners, obviously they wouldn't want us to include a link that would say, buy direct from Callaway when the consumer is in their location. So, we wanted to make the product recommendation. We wanted to provide as much information as we could. And so that's the path that we went down. So it's going to be a little difficult to measure direct sales because obviously there are a lot of things that go into that purchase decision for the consumer. But we feel like this is a great element to help educate the consumer as well as the sales associate, like I mentioned. And
I would imagine that the traffic you're seeing to those vanity URLs will kind of be a good indicator of the adoption levels you're seeing of the tool.
Yes, exactly. And that's the nice part, is that, it's not necessarily reliant just on the QR code. But there are other avenues that we can steer the consumer to experience this. So whether it's through social media, whether it's through emails, or just different content, we can ask the consumer to type in the vanity URL, or even scan the QR code if we have that in the creative that we've developed. So there are a lot of different ways that we're looking to push this message out there.
So you mentioned that you're working with Groove Jones on this project. We want to take a minute and tell us a little bit about that relationship and how you began working with them and using AR to with this particular AR tool, and the business benefits that you hope to see.
Yeah, I think the relationship really started as I was looking around, wanted to create kind of a unique experience. As I mentioned, we're constantly trying to develop new and different ways that we can talk about our newest technology. And obviously AI, we felt like fit well with augmented reality and telling that story. And so looking for the right partner, I really liked a lot of the work that Groove Jones had been doing, specifically around the things that they've been doing with the Dallas Mavericks, as well as AT&T and some others. It just felt like it was very similar to the content and the experience that we wanted to create for our consumer, so that it was authentic to Callaway and to the Maverick lineup. I felt like they would be a great partner just based off of the work they had previously done. So we started discussions, probably September of 2019. So it was a relatively quick process. They were very responsive. And we went through kind of what that consumer experience journey is, what their journey is going to look like. Outlined it completely, provided the right assets. They helped build out the content. as I described. And then obviously the review process going back and forth was pretty seamless. So they were a good partner and have been. And so I've been excited about the results that we've gotten so far.
So you want to talk a little bit about other emerging technologies or solutions that Callaway is kind of investigating or potentially looking to introduce, and that could be either online, all the digital ways that you're connecting with your consumers, or offline through some of your retail partners.
Yeah, I mean, I think I described it earlier, I mentioned it earlier, that we're constantly looking for new and different ways to present the Callaway product, and want to do it in ways that would be a benefit to the consumer. Obviously, would allow us to tell product stories, and the adoption would be relatively high, so that the consumer, even though it might be different, it would be something that they would definitely look into. So. We don't have anything necessarily specific that we're working on at this moment. We're, obviously launching product all the time as we go through, from year to year. But I don't have a technology that I'm looking into specifically right now. There's obviously a lot of video and things that you can develop and push at a retail partner at location. But there's nothing solid that we have just yet. So we're constantly looking for that, but nothing in concrete just yet.
And then my final question, Pete, would be in terms of, do you have any advice for other retailers and brands that may be looking to incorporate technology to improve the in-store shopping experience, maybe some learnings or takeaways from this most recent project?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think initially before you would go into, the process and engaging with an agency or a partner to help you develop this technology, I think, one, you need to set your goals. What are you looking to do? What do you want, the consumer to experience, and have a very solid foundation as to what you want to develop. Because obviously there's a ton of technology that's out there, and I feel like, and I'm victim of it as well. Like, oh, that would be really neat, or this could be really cool. But am I doing it because it's good for the brand, or am I doing it because it's a really cool initiative or a really cool different way to, showcase the product or the brand? So, set your goals, I think, first before you engage with anybody. I think, being authentic to your brand and to the product and the experience that you're trying to create is a huge one. Like I mentioned, you don't want to just do something because you think it's going to be neat. The adoption could be low if that's the case, and it doesn't make sense to the product that you're launching. So I think, that authenticity is a big part of it. And then choosing the right partner and making sure that they are able to deliver on what your goals are, and kind of charge toward that. And then also, just from a lead time perspective, we worked on a pretty short timeline on this one, and I would love to be able to have that dialogue a little bit longer than what we had, just so that we could, make sure that we're not going to the 11th hour. It's something that we're working on going forward, and we have the timelines correct. We have the, review process, the back and forth, all those things really dialed in as we get towards launch. So we made it and did a good job on this one, but a little bit more lead time is, I think, always beneficial.
Great. Well, that's some great advice for our audience. I want to take this opportunity to thank Pete Avery of Callaway Golf for joining me today. Please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcast, for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. But make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Also, please take the time to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.
To download Total Retail's latest research report, How to Make Free Shipping Profitable, go to mytotalretail.com/resources.